The introduction, a masterclass in suspense. Welcome to this specialized audio presentation of Rock, Paper, Scissors, the global bestseller and psychological tour de force by Alice Feeney. As I narrate this introduction, I want you to prepare your mind for a journey into the darkest corners of a marriage, a place where the truth is often more terrifying than the lies we tell to survive. Alice Feeney has earned a reputation as the queen of the unreliable narrator, and in this particular story, she takes that concept to a clinical, haunting new level. To ensure you get the most out of this experience, we have meticulously reconstructed the narrative into a three-part masterclass format. A book of this complexity, which originally spans over 10 hours of audio, deserves more than a simple summary. It requires a deep dive into the atmosphere, the subtext, and the intricate character dynamics that make the eventual twists so devastating. We have designed this presentation to cover every chilling detail and every hidden clue, condensing the experience into a high impact. At the heart of our story is a game we all played as children, rock, paper, scissors. But as I narrate the lives of Adam and Amelia Wright, you will see how this simple game of chance has become a metaphor for a decade of domestic warfare. The rock represents the heavy, immovable secrets of the past, the crimes and betrayals that ground a relationship until it can no longer breathe. The paper represents the written word, the anniversary letters that serve as a secret history of the Wrights' marriage, documenting every resentment that was never spoken aloud. And the scissors represent the sharp, sudden actions taken by the characters to cut themselves free from the ties that bind them. The premise of this story hinges on a unique medical condition, prosopagnosia, or face blindness. Our protagonist, Adam Wright, cannot recognize faces, not even his own, and certainly not his wife's. As I narrate, I want you to consider the psychological weight of that isolation. Imagine living in a world where everyone is a stranger, where you must rely on the sound of a voice or the scent of a perfume to know if the person standing in your kitchen is someone you love or someone who intends to do you harm. It is this vulnerability that turns a weekend getaway into a high-stakes survival game. Our presentation is structured in 3 consecutive parts. In Part 1, the Highland Trap, we will follow the Wrights as they travel to the remote and desolate Blackwater Chapel. We will explore the suffocating atmosphere of the Scottish Highlands and the first few years of the hidden anniversary letters that reveal the original sin of their marriage. In Part 2, the Scissors of Truth, the tension will escalate as the past and present begin to collide. We will delve into the darker years of the marriage, the introduction of a mysterious third player named Robin, and the revelation of a secret so dangerous it has the power to destroy everyone involved. In Part 3, the Final Reckoning, we will reach the climax of the storm. As I narrate the final hours at Blackwater Chapel, all the masks will come off, metaphorically and literally. We will uncover the ultimate twist that redefines everything you thought you knew about Adam, Amelia, and the woman in the shadows. So, adjust your volume, find a quiet space, and prepare to enter a world where you can't trust what you see, and you certainly can't trust what you're told. The snow is falling, the doors are locked, and the game is about to begin. This is Rock, Paper, Scissors. Let us begin with Part 1. Part 1, the Highland Trap. As I narrate this opening chapter of Rock, Paper, Scissors, I want you to feel the biting chill of the Scottish Highlands. Close your eyes and imagine the sound of a car engine straining against a brutal winter gale. Inside that car, the air is thick with a silence that has been years in the making. This is the story of Adam and Amelia Wright, a couple who are traveling toward a destination that promises to save their marriage, but in reality, it is a journey into the heart of a beautifully constructed trap. Adam Wright is a man who lives in a world of strangers. He suffers from a rare neurological condition called prosopagnosia, or face blindness. As I narrate his perspective, try to imagine the disorientation of looking at your own wife and seeing only a blurred arrangement of features that your brain cannot assemble into a recognizable person. For Adam, the world is a puzzle he can never quite solve. He relies on anchors to identify the people in his life, the way a person walks, a specific scar on a hand, or the distinct scent of a perfume. His wife, Amelia, has spent their marriage being his eyes, but as we see them driving through the blinding snow, We have to wonder if she is guiding him or leading him astray. Amelia is the one who won this weekend getaway. She claims she entered a raffle at the dog shelter where she works and walked away with a stay at Blackwater Chapel, a remote, converted church in the deepest reaches of the Highlands. As I narrate their arrival, notice the isolation. There is no cell service here. The GPS has flickered out. The road behind them is being erased by the blizzard as quickly as they drive over it. They are being cut off from the world, and for a man like Adam, who is already isolated by his condition, this environment is a psychological prison. When they finally reach Blackwater Chapel, it looms out of the whiteout like a jagged, granite ghost. It is a place of shadows and high, vaulted ceilings. There is no concierge to greet them, no warm fire waiting in the hearth. Instead, they find a key left in a door and a note that feels more like a warning than a welcome. As I narrate their first steps into the chapel, I want you to pay attention to the sensory details that Alice Feeney uses to build dread. The air inside is unnaturally still. In the kitchen, Amelia finds a pot of soup on the stove. It is still warm. In an empty, unheated building, this is an impossibility, unless they aren't actually alone. But to understand the true danger of Blackwater, we have to look into the past. This brings us to the first pillar of our story, the anniversary letters. For every year of their marriage, a letter has been written by a woman who identifies herself as Adam's wife. She writes these letters to him, but she never lets him read them. They are a vault of secrets, and as I narrate the contents of the early years, the foundation of this marriage begins to crumble. Year 1, the paper. The first letter takes us back to the beginning. We learn about the rock upon which Adam's life is built. Adam is a famous screenwriter, a man celebrated for his brilliant storytelling. But the letter reveals a devastating truth. Adam is a fraud. He was a struggling writer with no ideas and no future until he found a manuscript. He didn't just take inspiration from it. He stole it. He put his name on the cover, sold it to Hollywood, and built a life of luxury on a foundation of theft. The person he stole it from? The woman writing the letters. She allowed the theft because she loved him, but that act of mercy became the first knot in a noose that is now tightening around both of them. Year 2 and 3, the blurred identity. In these letters, the resentment begins to grow like mold in the dark. The writer describes the agony of living with a man who cannot recognize her face. She writes about the performance of being a wife. She realizes that Adam doesn't love her. He loves the role she plays. As I narrate this, consider the tragedy of her position. She is the ghostwriter of his scripts and the ghostwriter of their marriage. She is the paper that he uses to write his own success. But she is starting to realize that paper can also cause deep, painful cuts. Back in the present day at the chapel, the first night descends into a nightmare of sensory deprivation. The power fails, plunging the chapel into a darkness so absolute that Adam's face blindness becomes total blindness. He is forced to navigate the space by touch, his hands skimming over cold stone and ancient wood. He finds a door at the top of a narrow staircase, and when he opens it, his heart stops. Inside this room, the world of London has followed them to Scotland. The room is a perfect, identical replica of their bedroom at home. The wallpaper is the same. The scent of Adam's own cologne hangs in the air. Even the books on the nightstand are the exact titles he was reading before they left. As I narrate this scene, feel the claustrophobia. This isn't just a vacation rental. This is a stage set, designed by someone who has been inside their home, someone who knows their most intimate habits. Adam finds Amelia, but in the flickering light of a candle, he experiences a moment of pure, animal terror. Because he cannot see her face, he relies on her clothes, a bright yellow raincoat she was wearing earlier. But as he reaches out to her, he realizes the person in the room is moving differently. The anchor is wrong. He begins to wonder if the woman in the chapel is actually his wife, or if someone has stepped into her place under the cover of the storm. While Adam and Amelia struggle with their suspicions, we are introduced to a third perspective. Just a few hundred yards away, in a small, crumbling cottage, a woman named Robin is watching. She is the watcher. She has a telescope trained on the chapel windows. She knows about the soup. She knows about the replica room. She knows that the car keys have been hidden and that the Wrights are now her prisoners. As I narrate the end of this first segment, the pieces of the game are on the board. We have the rock, the chapel, and the heavy secrets of the past. We have the paper, the letters that document 10 years of betrayal. And we have the scissors, the hidden motives that are about to start cutting these lives to pieces. Adam and Amelia are trapped in a house that knows their sins, and as the snow continues to fall, it becomes clear that only one of them was ever intended to leave Blackwater alive. Part 2. The Scissors of Truth. As I narrate this second chapter of our journey into the heart of Blackwater Chapel, I want you to feel the transition from a mystery into a true psychological nightmare. The wind outside has shifted from a low, mournful moan to a high-pitched, persistent scream, battering against the ancient granite walls of the chapel like a living thing trying to get inside. The temperature in the sanctuary is dropping rapidly, and the air is thick with the scent of damp stone, old wood, and the metallic, sharp tang of fear. Adam and Amelia Wright are no longer just a couple on a bad vacation. They are two combatants in a psychological arena, waiting for the first one to bleed. To understand why this night is so deadly, we must return to the second pillar of our story, the middle years of the anniversary letters. If part 1 was about the paper, the theft of a career, these letters, spanning from year 4 to year 8, are about the scissors. They represent the sharp, jagged edges of a relationship that have begun to cut deep into the bone. In these letters, the writer's voice changes. The adoration of the early years is gone, replaced by a cold, calculating bitterness. The weight of the secret, the year 5 letter. As I narrate the content of the 5th anniversary letter, I need you to visualize a rain-slicked road in the suburbs of London 5 years ago. This is the original sin of their shared history, the moment that poisoned their future. Adam was driving, his eyes heavy with fatigue, his mind clouded by the stress of maintaining the lie of his stolen success. There was a sudden, sickening thud, a heavy, organic sound of metal meeting a body. In that moment, Adam's instinct was to stop. He wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to call for help. But the woman in the passenger seat, his wife, stopped him. She gripped his arm and whispered that his career would be over, that the press would tear him apart, that their golden life would be ruined. She convinced him to press the accelerator and vanish into the night. From that moment on, their marriage wasn't held together by love or shared dreams. It was held together by a mutual pact of silence. Every time Adam looked at his wife, he didn't see a partner. He saw a witness to his crime. He saw a woman who held his freedom in her hands. And she, in turn, saw a man she could control, a man whose guilt made him weak. This is the rock that has been crushing them for 5 years, a secret that is now being unearthed, quite literally, in the frozen Highlands of Scotland. The present day, the hallway of faceless mirrors. Back in the sanctuary of Blackwater, the psychological warfare reaches a fever pitch. As I narrate Adam's movement through the chapel, imagine his world. Because of his prosopagnosia, Adam cannot use mirrors the way you or I do. When he looks into a mirror, he doesn't see Adam. He sees a collection of features that look like a stranger's. This evening, as the power remains out, he finds a pair of scissors sitting on his pillow in the replica bedroom. They are cold, heavy, and undeniably a message. Next to them is a wedding photograph of him and Amelia. But as I narrate this chilling detail, imagine the horror of his condition. Amelia's face has been neatly, surgically cut out of the photo. To Adam, the removal of a face isn't just a threat. It is a total erasure of his reality. If he cannot see her face in person, and now her image is gone from the only proof of their history, does she even exist? Is the woman in the next room actually the woman he married? He begins to suspect that Amelia is the one gaslighting him. He remembers the warm soup on the stove. He remembers the replica bedroom. He realizes that Amelia is the only person who knows his habits well enough to build this trap. He thinks she is trying to drive him mad so she can take the remainder of his money and his secrets. But what he doesn't know is that Amelia has her own scissors that she has been sharpening for years. The introduction of Robin, the ghost in the shadows. Now, the perspective shifts, and as I narrate the thoughts of the woman in the cottage, the entire narrative architecture of the book changes. Her name is Robin. She is not a ghost, though she has lived like one for a long time. She reveals to us the most devastating twist of the story's midpoint. Robin was Adam's first wife. She was the one in the car during the hit and run. She was the one who wrote the first 5 letters. To a man with face blindness, one woman can easily blur into another. As I narrate this, consider the absolute tragedy of Adam's condition. Because he cannot recognize faces, he eventually replaced Robin with Amelia, as if he were simply replacing a broken part in a machine. When Robin left, Adam moved Amelia into Robin's old house. He gave her Robin's old life. He even bought her the same breed of dog, a Highland terrier named Bob. To Adam, the transition was seamless because he simply ignored the features he couldn't process. But Robin never truly left. She has been the watcher in the periphery of their lives, living in a cottage nearby, watching another woman sleep in her bed, wear her clothes, and live the life she once owned. As I narrate Robin's descent from the cottage and her entry into the chapel, the atmosphere becomes suffocatingly claustrophobic. She isn't just a jilted ex-wife. She is the true author of the letters. She is the one who sent the invitation to Blackwater. She has lured them here to force a confession, but as the blizzard reaches its peak, her plan begins to spiral out of control. The disappearance of Bob and the scent of the past. The tension finally breaks when the dog, Bob, disappears into the howling storm. For Amelia, the dog is the only thing she truly loves, the only thing that doesn't lie to her. She screams into the whiteout, charging out into the waist-deep snow, leaving Adam alone in the dark chapel. As I narrate Adam's experience now, I want you to feel his total sensory deprivation. He is in a house that mocks his past, and now his eyes, Amelia, have vanished into the white. He hears a footstep. It is light, deliberate, and sounds nothing like Amelia's heavy-set gait. He smells a perfume that hasn't been in his life for 10 years, a floral, dusty scent that triggers a memory he thought he had suppressed. Robin is inside. In the darkness, Adam reaches out and touches a face. For the first time in a decade, he tries to read the features with his fingertips. He feels the curve of a jawline he once loved, the bridge of a nose he once knew. As I narrate this moment, the horror isn't just that a stranger is in the house. It's the dawning realization that the past has come to reclaim the present. The midpoint revelation. As this second segment concludes, we realize that Amelia is not the innocent victim she portrays. She didn't just meet Adam by chance. She knew about the hit and run from the very beginning. She was a witness, or perhaps she knew the victim. She used that knowledge to blackmail her way into Adam's life, systematically cutting Robin out of the picture. Now, all three players, the blind husband, the usurper wife, and the ghost from the past, are locked in the same frozen cage. The scissors are out, and the first cut has already been made. As I narrate the transition to our final chapter, ask yourself, in a world where you cannot trust your own eyes, how do you know which woman is trying to save you, and which one is trying to bury you in the snow? The game of rock, paper, scissors is almost over, and only one of them has the strength left to win. Part 3. The Final Reckoning. As I narrate this final chapter of Rock, Paper, Scissors, I want you to feel the air in the chapel turn from cold to lethal. The blizzard outside has reached its absolute crescendo, a white wall of noise that has effectively erased the rest of the world. Inside Blackwater, the fire has finally sputtered into gray ash. The shadows are no longer just shapes. They feel like physical weights pressing against Adam Wright's chest. The rock of their secrets, the paper of their lies, and the scissors of their betrayals have all led to this. The moment when the masks finally fall, and the faces they have been hiding are revealed. The year 10 letter, the verdict. To reach the end, we must first look at the final anniversary letter, year 10. As I narrate the words of this final confession, I want you to feel the chilling finality in the writer's voice. This is no longer a plea for love, it is a legal verdict. We finally learn the truth about the hit and run that has haunted Adam for half a decade. For 5 years, Adam believed he had killed a man on a rainy London road. He believed Robin, his first wife, had helped him cover it up out of a desperate, sacrificial love. But as I narrate the reality of that night, the truth is far more twisted. There was no man. There was no body. The entire accident was a psychological anchor planted by Robin. She knew about Adam's face blindness, and she knew his greatest fear was his own incompetence. She manufactured a crime to ensure that Adam would be tethered to her by a guilt so heavy he would never dare to leave. She didn't save his career. She created a cage and handed him the bars. This revelation recontextualizes every interaction they've had. Their marriage wasn't built on a secret. It was built on a hoax. The three-way mirror. Back in the present day, the three players are finally brought together in the sanctuary. As I narrate this scene, try to inhabit Adam's sensory chaos. To his left is Amelia, the woman he married to escape the ghost of his past. To his right is Robin, the woman who has been living in the shadows of the estate. Because of his prosopagnosia, they are not faces to him. They are voices in the dark, the rustle of a parka, and the smell of the damp Highlands. He is caught in a crossfire of truths. Amelia reveals her true face, not her physical features, but her soul. She wasn't an accidental witness to Adam's life. She was a woman who saw a famous, successful man and decided she wanted his world. She knew about Robin. She knew about the accident. She systematically used Adam's disability against him, stepping into Robin's shoes, moving into Robin's house, and even adopting Robin's habits. She thought she had outplayed the first wife. But as I narrate the moment the lights flicker back on, we see that Robin was never truly gone. She has been the watcher because she was waiting for this specific night, in this specific chapel, to reclaim the identity that was stolen from her. The climax, the game ends. The tension breaks into physical violence. In the darkness and the confusion of Adam's face blindness, he reaches a breaking point. He hears a voice he thinks belongs to a monster, and he strikes out. But in the ultimate tragedy of his condition, he cannot know who he is hitting. As I narrate the struggle, the sound of a body hitting the stone floor echoes through the vaulted ceiling. Adam thinks he has finally cut himself free. He thinks the scissors have finished the job. But as the sun begins to rise over the Highland peaks, casting a pale, weak light through the stained glass, the final twist is revealed. The woman he struck wasn't the monster he imagined, and the woman standing over him isn't the wife he thought he knew. The final reveal, the identity of the narrator. The biggest secret of rock, paper, scissors is the identity of the person who has been talking to us the whole time. As I narrate these final pages, we realize that the Amelia we have been following isn't just a second wife. She is the victim of a real accident, the one Adam actually committed. The letters weren't just a hobby, they were a countdown. Robin, the paper who was folded and torn by Adam's rock for 10 years, is the only one who truly survives the night with her soul intact. She walks out of Blackwater Chapel and into the morning light. She has the letters. She has the manuscript of the stolen screenplay. She has the truth. She has reclaimed her name, her words, and her life. She leaves Adam in the chapel, a man who cannot recognize the faces of his victims, left alone with the ghosts of the people he used to build his hollow success. The outro, the cost of being blind. As I narrate these final thoughts, consider the legacy of the Wrights. Alice Feeney has constructed a story where no one is truly innocent. It is a cautionary tale about the danger of moral blindness. Adam's inability to see faces was a medical tragedy, but his inability to see the humanity in the women he loved was his true downfall. He lived his life as a game of chance, but in rock, paper, scissors, the winner is always the one who holds the pen. The anniversary letters are finished. The fire at Blackwater is cold. And as the snow begins to melt, the truth remains. We never really know the people we love. We only see the faces they choose to show us. And sometimes, we don't even see those. Thank you for joining me for this masterclass presentation. As I narrate the final silence, remember, in a world of strangers, the most dangerous person is the one who knows your name.